July 8th, Protective Dragon by Rdmfavclps. Category: My Hero Academia. Rating: Teen. Pairing: Midoriya Izuku and Midoriya Hisashi. Midoriya Izuku and All Might. Midoriya Izuku and Shota Aizawa. Summary: Midoriya gets sick and stays in bed. No one expects him to have a visitor who is like a dog. But how did he get past security? Disclaimer: neither of us own any rights to the My Hero Academia franchise. Author's note: I know the dates are out of order and I plan on fixing that soon, but as of now the stories I have typed up are written up July 4th, 5th, 6th. Will possibly be free typed, but I have the story mentally planned out in my head. July 8th was my birthday, so this is technically the last story of the series. Again, I will be reworking the order of the series once I have all of the stories posted. This is it's speaking of the countdown to my birthday 2021. I'm reading this because it's a part of the Fluffy Minty Boy in his Dragon Daddy series. So yeah. Story begins. Izuku woke up feeling very cold, like he had just walked through a blizzard without a shirt and just a pair of shorts. The problem is that it's the middle of summer. The forecast predicts it to be over 37 Celsius today. I'm looking up Celsius to 36 Celsius is 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Oops. 37 Celsius today. Probably about 100. His green eyes struggled to open as he coughed into his bed covers. He burrowed his shaking body more into his covers as the door to his room silently opened and closed. The familiar smell of smoked spices and cinnamon filled the room, and Midoriya let his eyes close again, as it took too much strength to keep them open. The last thing he sees is a giant figure holding on to his phone, dark green scales illuminated by his phone's backlight as it gets turned on. Time skip. Class 1A was trying hard not to freak out because no one has seen or heard from Midoriya. His neighbors didn't hear his alarms go off. He didn't show up for his morning jog with Ida. No one seen him at breakfast, and every time they knocked on his door, there was no sound. 15 minutes before class started, Ida, Todoroki, Momo, and Bakugo were already in the classroom. Yuraka and Asui were already on the way to class with most of the Baku squad. Still no word from Midoriya, Sato said. Maybe we should check up on him. I'll go, Hagakari said as her school uniform bounced. I'll meet up with everyone later. As the rest of the class went to class, Hagakari rode the elevator up to Midoriya's floor. She walked towards his room and knocked on his door. There was no sound, so she knocked again. Midoriya, she called out, and and pressed her ear to his door. She heard something rustling, but still no answer. Classroom is about to start, and no one's heard from you today. Still silent. Midoriya? Hagakure said, and slowly turned the handle. She peeked her head to look inside the dark room. She saw the lump of Midoriya's body under his covers, his sweat-drenched hair sticking to his mostly pale face that had flushed cheeks. She could hear his labored breathing, which broke the silence of the room. However, what made Hagakure hold her breath was the dark green scale tail that was by Midoriya's feet. On the ground, which she assumed belonged to the person who was standing on the other side of the bed facing the door. A dragon head with green scales was looking down at Midoriya. The toxic green eyes held a worried expression in them, and for once Hagakure was glad she was invisible. The dragon man, who she was sure was taller than All Might when he stood up straight, let out a whimper as it nuzzled its snout into Midoriya's neck, a clawed hand gently moving his hair out of the way. Hagakure slowly took a step back and closed the door. She took a few deep breaths, and she pulled out her cell phone and ran down to the next floor. Hagakure. Did you find the problem child? Aizawa said in greeting, his calm, tired voice grounding her thoughts. This is going to sound crazy, but I think there's a giant dragon in Midoriya's room, she said. I saw a tail by his feet, and the head was by Midoriya's head. It seemed like it was trying to curl up around the bed, and Midoriya, I'm scared. Hagakure could hear Aizawa starting to give out orders that helped calm her heart. Ida was to get Kayama-sensei, Momo was in charge of the class, and Aoyama was in charge of telling Nezu about the situation, that there was an intruder, and that the alarms didn't go off. Hagakure. All Might is already on his way there. Todoroki had to run into him earlier and explain that no one had heard from Midoriya yet today. I'm on my way. Sensei? Midoriya also looked like he was sick, Hagakure said. I want you to wait for All Might in the common room. Tell him the situation. Tell him to wait for me, and then run to the classroom. We'll retrieve Midoriya safely, okay? Aizawa said. But is the Dragon Man an enemy? Hagakure said as she made her way downstairs. It seemed like he was worried about Midoriya and not harming him. The alarms never went off, and no one was scheduled to visit anyone today as far as I know, Aizawa said. We don't know how long he's been there with Midoriya. It is always best in these types of situations and in our type of work to, err on the side of caution. And with Midoriya's track record of criminals finding him, we don't want to take the risk. I see All Might, and we are both almost there. Go ahead and go to the classroom. Yes, sir, Hagakure said. Why the fuck does Ariana have her fucking alarm going off at 3 a.m.? Whatever. Midoriya opened his eyes when he felt himself being picked up, the sharp points of his bones digging into his tired, aching, stiff muscles. Hurt, and the body was cooler than been wrapped around him. Cold, he grumbled weakly. Sharp points hurt, Dad. You're running a very high temperature right now, young Midoriya, All Might whispered with a twinge of pride and embarrassment in his voice. We need to get you out of here first, since there's an intruder, and then we will take you to recover, girl. Don't move, Aizawa said in a hushed whisper as a deep growl sounded throughout the room, followed by a rustling noise. A dark green tail lashed out from behind the heroes, knocking Aizawa into the desk, causing it to break and send Midoriya's books, homework, and figurines to the floor. The tail wrapped itself around Midoriya's waist in a secure hold as a body shoved itself into All Might's side and into the wall. The tail moved Midoriya out of All Might's grip and brought the boy to its main body that towered over both of the teachers, the toxic green eyes watching them get up with caution. Once the figure felt that the sick student was secure in his arms and against his chest, the clawed hands holding him close, he ran out of the room, bending down so it was low to the ground, and most of his body covered Midoriya's shaking body. I think the villain is taller than me, All Might said with a grunt. He took my son. He took my son. Aizawa was already up and chasing after the intruder. Call ectoplasm, Midnight and Mike, he said. Oh, by the way, I think I'm just gonna quit doing the voices at the moment because I don't have water. And it's like 3 a.m. with an alarm blaring over my head because my sister is a sociopath. Sorry. Aizawa followed the tail through the dormitory as they went downstairs. Oh wait, did I? Yeah, I already read that. When he got to the common room, he saw Midoriya's green hair sticking out of a pile of blankets, the man leaning against the wall in the corner, holding Midoriya close to his chest. The tail was laying on the floor, but within reach of what appeared to be a small cooler, a little TV tray that had crackers and what seemed to be a slow cooker filled with what smells like miso soup. Aizawa took a step forward, the green eyes narrowed at him, and a growl escaped his throat. The tail curled up, poised, ready to attack again. As footsteps sounded behind Aizawa, and a chipper voice spoke up. Ah, Torch! We weren't expecting you so early today, the voice of the principal said. However, what am I? A bear, a dog, a mouse? He's obviously... I'm the principal. Toxic green eyes glanced at the white mammal who stood on Ectoplasm's shoulder, present Mike and Midnight on either side of Aizawa. His eyes went back to staring down Aizawa. Minty was correct. You're a human whose soul and intelligence has been successfully transferred into a stout that did have a high-specs quirk. Torch grumbled, but his guard never went down. The tension multiplied at the answer. As Nezu's tail started to twitch, it was a few minutes of silence before Nezu spoke up, his voice tight, and something in Aizawa's gut told him that whatever this minty person was, had the correct answer over what Nezu truly was. That was a terrifying thought. Interesting, Nezu said. This minty person would happen to be whom exactly? Izuku. My precious fluffy mint, my minty boy, Torch said, nuzzling the mentioned boy's cheek with his snout. The boy let out a small sigh at the gesture. I see. I presume that Midoriya is the reason as to why your scheduled visit is early and not with the intended people? Nezu said. Nezu, can you perhaps explain as to why this Torch person is allowed on the school premises? Midnight said. I had asked Torch to come to UA to meet up with Aizawa and Yamada to introduce them. Torch would be able to help Eri understand and control her quirk, along with providing answers for some questions she might have over her quirk that we don't know the answers to without doing inhumane experiments on her. Nezu said. Torch had arrived around 2 in the morning, and he stayed with Midoriya, who is obviously not the right child he was supposed to be meeting. What kind of father would I be if I wasn't here to take care of my own son? Torch said with a growl. Even though my precious fluffy mint doesn't have any type of dragon mutation or share a similarity with my quirk, my genes are still in him. A cough sounded from the stairs. Son? All Might stuttered out, and everyone could see the heartbreak in his eyes. Oh. Yes, Izuku is my son, who is sick and doesn't need to be moved from a warm nest, or moved in general because it makes him sicker, especially with someone who doesn't give him more warmth, which would cause his chills to become worse, making his fever rise, because the dragon genes in his blood is trying to stop his body from going into hibernation mode, and baby dragon's hibernation is an almost guaranteed death. And Izuku is still a baby dragon, Torch said with a growl, fumes of smoke escaping from his nostrils and little tendrils of fire escaping the corners of his mouth, the claws digging slightingly into the blankets. The green hair moved to rest under the dragon head. A softer mutter of Midoriya's voice whispering, warm, and the way Torch nuzzled the green hair with an equally soft whine. His tail drooped slightly. Oh my Kami, Midnight said. He's like an overgrown puppy who is protective. It's breathtakingly adorable. We shall continue this discussion later when Midoriya is feeling better, and even then I would like to have a discussion with Midoriya. I would like to know how he found out the answer to my question, Nezu said. Wait, hold up, hold the phone, stop the music, wicka wicka. Das Bidanya. You mean to tell us that the little listener is right about your question? Present Mike said. I'm sorry. You also mean to tell me that you scheduled an appointment with this dragon listener to help Eri without asking Shota or me about it? We are her parents. The beady glare that was closer to Present Mike's face made the voice hero shiver. Aizawa sighed at his husband, Hisashi. Nezu had scheduled a meeting with us for after school today, in which, if I were to guess, was to introduce us to Torch and explain more to us. Aizawa relaxed his stance and looked over at Torch. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, Aizawa said. Your son is a magnet for trouble, and this year has given him and his class more experience fighting villains than most freshly graduated pro heroes have in the first years of patrols. Would it be okay if I stayed with my husband so we can ask some questions about your son and why Nezu believes you'll be able to help our daughter? Torch nodded his head, his tail flickering in the direction of All Might, who was still on the stairway, frozen in shock even while Ectoplasm's clones tried to get him to move or to respond. As long as that elf leaves so I can explain some things to you without him interrupting or making flimsy excuses, Torch said. She needs to turn off that fucking alarm. All Might looked surprised at Torch with glowing blue eyes, his glowing blue eyes widening as he figured out the dragon knew about his secret. Yes, All Might, I know. It's why I didn't hit your injured side. I also know because my son trusts me, and I have a whole lot more clearance as the top international underground hero than you do as a symbol of peace and retired #1 hero, Torch said with a growl. That growl also seemed like it carried the warning tone of I know what you did, and Aizawa has no idea what sort of Pandora's box he's about to open, but a couple of those boxes have already been opened today. What's a few more? That's the end of the fanfic. You can click off if you'd like, but I'm so sorry. I was listening to something while reading because my brain can't stay focused on something if I'm not listening to anything. But when I randomly said "Doth be done ya," it's because the thing that I was listening to said that, and I parroted that because earlier today I watched the movie Anastasia, which 10 out of 10 movie. I absolutely love that movie. It's like my favorite movie of all time. The music are bangers. 10 out of 10. Sucks that the actual Anastasia fucking died. But my sister's just chilling upstairs at 3:13 a.m. with her alarm blaring in my ear, and I can't fucking stand it. I don't think I'm supposed to be cursing. Anyways, thank you for watching. I don't really like intros, or outros. So yeah, I rambled. Sorry. I'll be going. Bye.